title, Unit 6C. He hadn't even unpacked the last box before the screaming started. First, he assumed it was a TV, maybe a neighbor with questionable taste in late-night programming. But the longer he lay in bed, eyes locked on the cracked ceiling of his new apartment, the more he realized these weren't movie screams. They were raw, human, and close, sometimes muffled, sometimes long and drawn out. Sometimes they stopped too suddenly. He lay awake with the blanket drawn up to his chin like a scared child, watching shadows crawl along the walls as the street lights shifted. Someone coughed violently in the apartment above. A baby cried next door. A woman sobbed through the thin wall to his left. And then silence. Thick, pressing silence. Then came the rats. The scurrying in the walls began after 3 a.m. every night without fail. Scratching, the pattering, the squeaks. The first night, he pulled the blanket over his ears. By the third, he curled up in the closet just to escape the sound. On the fifth night, he left the apartment at dawn, dark circles beneath his eyes, and went to the pharmacy for sleeping pills. They didn't help. On the way home, a group of teenagers with hoodies and crooked grins stepped in front of him on the sidewalk. "Yo, man, you got a couple bucks?" one of them asked. He clutched the brown paper pharmacy bag like a shield. "I spent it all on sleeping pills," he said, voice dry. "I haven't slept in days." "Oh, poor guy, can't sleep," one said mockingly. Another laughed and shoved him. "I just want to go home." Another teen stepped forward and sucker punched him in the stomach. The air fled his lungs like a kicked dog. The bag of pills fell and scattered. Then they rushed him, clawing hands, laughter, shoves, and fists. One tried to trip him, but he shoved him hard and bolted, half running, half limping. They followed, laughing, howling behind him like feral animals. 2 blocks later, they peeled off, shouting insults and sweet dreams. Freak. He locked the apartment door behind him and leaned against it, panting. His ribs ached, his hands shook. She found the crushed pill box and took 4 of them, not the 2 recommended, just enough to make sure something worked. He poured himself 3 fingers of cheap whiskey to help it along, then 2 more for good measure. The city outside continued its nightly chorus. Sirens, arguments, screams in the distance, footsteps in the hallway that never seemed to stop. He sat on the edge of the bed, blinking slowly. The pills were starting to drag his thoughts under. He saw her face again, her laugh, warm and familiar. The way she used to hold his hand, like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Then another man's hand on her waist. A kiss that wasn't his. He thought about calling someone, but who no one from home would pick up. They'd told him not to move here. "You'll get swallowed whole in the city," his mother warned. "You're too sensitive for all that noise. It's darkness." He wasn't sure how much time had passed, but he was awake. That much he knew. Sort of. The blackness was complete, heavy, suffocating. He blinked, or tried to. Was it night still? Was it just too dark? He yawned, but something caught in his throat. He coughed. Tickled like a piece of thread had gotten caught on the roof of his mouth. He stood up. His legs trembled. He staggered into the bathroom, flipping the light switch with trembling fingers. The light came on, dim, flickering. He looked in the mirror. Was something ... wrong? He opened his mouth to cough again, but the tickle had become a full body panic. He felt something ... move. Deep in his throat, it scurried, its mouth opened wide, trying to scream, but the scream caught as something prickled at the back of his throat. He gagged, eyes bulging. A leg unfurled across his tongue and dangled out over his lips. His entire body seized. He slammed his hand against a wall and tried to vomit, but his stomach gave nothing. Instead, they poured out. Hundreds. Spiders. Slick, black, hairy, writhing, crawling up his throat, out of his mouth, down his chin, over his face. He batted at them, shrieking as they covered his skin, his arms, his chest, more still inside. He couldn't breathe. He staggered to the sink and turned on the faucet. Water blasted into his hands and he cupped it, drinking frantically, trying to drown whatever was inside. But the spiders bit, inside his throat, inside his lungs. He choked on blood. It splattered the sink, the mirror, the floor. His hands clawed at his own neck. His face turned purple, then blue. Eyes bulged. He collapsed onto the bathroom floor, twitching, gagging, staring in horror at the ceiling. His last breath came with a final gasp. Then, none at all. The apartment was silent again. His body lay, twisted, eyes wide, mouth agape. One hand still gripped his throat. His other arm was streaked in scratches and bite marks. Spiders continued to pour from his mouth, slow, steady, unending, forming a black, skittering puddle that stretched across the bathroom tile and into the hallway. They flowed like water, vanishing into the cracks in the walls, the vents, the ceiling. The next morning, the maintenance man knocked on the door. No answer. He shrugged. "No one stays long in Unit 6C, he muttered, lighting a cigarette. "Damn city eats them alive." He moved on. Behind the door, in the darkness, something stirred. Something watched. And somewhere deep in the vents, a single spider blinked. The end.